This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Welcome back to the research talks here on Stockbox with Alan Green. Hi Alan, how are you this Friday?
Hello, Mark. I'm very good, thanks. And once again, another sunny Friday. Short week, but actually a very busy week, surprisingly. So, I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Good. Yeah, it's not as sunny here. We're slightly overcast, but it's definitely warming up. Warming up. So that's a good thing. Although yesterday we had a random hail, quite large hailstones as well, which was unusual, but it came and was gone in a few minutes. So yeah. And I also met a fellow Brit yesterday.
You met a fellow Brit, excellent. I have sensed a certain homesickness on your part here and there when we've spoken, and the green grass of home and all of that. So
yes, these green and pleasant lands. Yeah,
exactly. Ina's green and pleasant land. That's the one.
So I met a fellow Brit, and we enjoyed some vino and some steak, and talked about all things, British and expatty. So yeah, it was weirdly refreshing, but yeah, it was quite nice. Maybe I've made my first friend. It might be a Brit rather than a Dutchman, but at least I'm maybe making friends finally.
So how are the Dutch lessons coming along?
They're not very well, I'll be honest, Alan. I know the pleasantries, I know, to be polite to people, but no, I need to pick it up. But my opinion is that Dutch is only useful here.
Yes.
It's one of those languages where it's only really useful in one place. It's not like German or Spanish or French. So, yeah, and everyone speaks English, so it is a bit tricky too. But I'm going to have to discipline myself, I think, so I can try and break into that Dutch kind of circle at some point. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about Altona rare earths, aren't we?
Indeed, Altona rare earth metals. Yes, Aquis listed company. The EPIC code is ANR. Shares have traded as high as 30.5p on the year and as low as 6.5p. Currently, with a market capitalization of just over 2 million, they're trading with an 11p mid price. And of course, there is quite a big spread, as you often find with lightly traded Aquis stocks. Nonetheless, Altona has been around for some years. It was formerly Altona Energy, first listed in 2004 and had a number of coal interests. And those were offloaded last year finally, and the company underwent a transition to acquire a series of rare earth projects. So there are 3 rare earth projects that are at various stages. So before I go into those, I'm just going to sort of go into the background of the company and the new board that are now in place. So the chairman and non-exec director, Martin Wood, he also is chairman and CEO at Vicarage Capital. Have a lot of experience in the small cap mining arena, and also he was CEO of ASX listed Koji Iron, I think it's pronounced. So a lot of experience in running resource companies. CEO, of course, who you interviewed recently, Mark, is Christian Taylor Wilkinson, who a lot like several CEOs in the industry nowadays, has a background in IR, investor relations, and obviously has made the transition from there, which I think is quite a natural step, because as you get to know these companies and you understand the dynamics that drive the valuation in a company like this, and the overall mechanics of developing a business like this, it's a very good perspective to then make the step from into actually running the company. We have Audrey Matupi, who is a non-exec director. She's South African based. She's chief executive of System Logic, a technology business in Africa, and she sits on many boards in Africa of various mining organizations and is very well respected in her field. Then we have Cedric Simone, who's the non-exec director and geologist, worked extensively with Sadrum Fluorspar. And of course, we have spoken about Fluorspar before with a company, Tertiary Minerals, that was involved with Fluorspar some years ago, and also was a former chairman of the Kenya Chamber of Mining. So a very experienced board there, now put in place with the new company. So, of course, rare earth metals such as neodymium, praseodymium, and ytterbium, I think I pronounced it correctly.
Say it right, yeah.
Dysprosium and yttrium. These are all metals for use in light and heavy industries, but of course, with a nod very much to the new generation industries involved in, of course, EV technology, so provision for batteries, also in green technology too, so in wind turbines, and in use in various applications in military and guidance systems and so on. So an enormous number of applications. And a very interesting factor that I wasn't aware of until I listened to the podcast is that 95% of rare earth metal production is currently from China. So, of course, China very much has control of that market. So it's very much in the West's interest to develop and bring on stream rare earth projects and facilities whereby rare earth production can be sourced without having to rely on China. So Altona has made the transition from the former industry into rare earths, and in June last year, it signed its first memorandum of understanding with a company called Akatswiri Resources to acquire 70% or 75% of the Chambray, that's CHAMBRE, the Chambray rare earth projects in Malanje in southern Malawi, and this project is rich in heavy and light rare earths, such as those I've described and won't try to pronounce again. And it has taken quite a time to progress this, but we had an update from the group recently, which I'll go into a bit later, which will explain why. Mm-hmm. So as we headed into the latter part of 2020, the company undertook a placing and raised 523,000 before expenses, issuing 5.5 million shares with 1-for-2 warrants at a 12p strike price. This was to fund the further research and due diligence it was undertaking into these projects. The company also raised a further 260,000 before expenses in March, again to progress due diligence work. At the end of January, the company announced full year results, reduced loss before tax of 228,000 from a loss of 11.6 million, obviously reflecting the coal interest previously, what the company referred to as historic coal asset impairments, and progressed into developing the other assets this year. So the first key asset, which the company are very excited about, they've signed a memorandum of understanding with a company in Mozambique for the Monte Moambe rare earths project, and this is a conditional 70% acquisition. And again, this is a former fluorspar mine which has produced in the past. There are 165 reverse circulation drill holes over a 12,000 square kilometer area, and the company or the company that drilled the fluorspar asset discovered at least 4 rare earth element intersections throughout that. It's a huge territory. Only 5% of the surface has been discovered so far. So the grades were very well ahead of average, 4.9 meters at 2.5% TREO. which of course is total rare earth oxides, 36 meters at 2.5% as well, and 96 meters at 2.2%. So, and this was all taken from soil sampling at the surface, and there is potential to develop an open pit mine here. It's already near several operating coal mines, and there's an iron ore mine nearby with a steel production plant. So the infrastructure and access is very good. The company's geologist, Cedric Simone, who's also a non-exec director, as I said earlier, he has stated that he rates this as one of the top rare earth element projects available in Africa. And of course, we've spoken about others. We've spoken about the Ditau Camps project, which is the joint venture between Power Metal Resources and Kavanga Resources. Again, this looks to be something that is going to, this project here, the Monte Moyambe project looks to be heading towards the top of that list as well. So we then move on from there to eastern Uganda, and again, all of this has taken place during Q1. The company announced an option to acquire 70% of the Nankoma rare earths project from Leadway Group in Uganda. And this is sited in eastern Uganda, some 130 kilometers east of Kampala. The company have just secured a 3-year exploration license, and it's a staged option buy-in. The first stage to acquire 51% by the end of June this year involves 25% of the 25,000 deposits in the form of shares, and the second stage, if they decide to go the whole way to 70%, will involve further 125,000 also in shares. This is a huge area. It's some 67.5 square kilometers in area, but most significantly, there is a project nearby called the Makutu project, which is owned by ASX-listed Ionic Rare Earths, and Ionic have established a mineral resource estimate of some 315 million tonnes at 650 parts per million TRE, or total rare earth oxides, and this of course includes your neodymiums and praseodymiums and all the rest of it. So a very exciting developments in a very short space of time since raising the money. So the most significant the most significant summary of events to date was the trading update at the end of April 30th. And the company summarised its progress with each project. Monte Moyambe, the company said analysis of historic samples were being undertaken prior to the final decision to complete that acquisition. Coming to Nankoma, soil samples, of course, I think this is very much more a greenfield project. Soil samples are being collected and sent to Australia for assay under the guidance of Altona's own metallurgist, Gavin Beer. And again, that will be subject to the results from that. That will guide the company and the board in making the final decision. And I mentioned at the start the project that the company had commenced work on last year. This, of course, is in southern Malawi, where it signed an MOU with Akatswiri to acquire 75% of the Chambray rare earths project. The company are currently awaiting Akatswiri Resources to confirm that the Malawian government has approved the exploration license. So once they have that written confirmation, they will then obviously proceed and sign the documentation and sign a binding agreement. What the company have also done, they've hired local law firms, local law companies, all three jurisdictions to progress to progress the projects and progress the administrative part of each process. So with that fast tracking in mind, the company expects to own all three of these projects, have all three of these projects under ownership by the end of this quarter. So basically, by the end of June, that's about 7-8 weeks away. By the end of June, the company will have all three of these assets owned and under development, and that's very exciting. Considering where we are with a market cap of just over 2 million, and this hasn't gone unnoticed by some other major investors. We've seen two investors pick up 4.5% each, and Paul and Catherine McKillen have picked up. There was a TR1 announcement the other day. They now own 6.75% of the company, up from 4.7% previously. So some interested, well-to-do, high net worths there taking stakes in the company. Mm-hmm. So we've spoken about other resources companies at this stage, and most of them would have a market capitalization probably between the 5 and 10 million area. Here we are with three quality rare earth assets shortly to be owned by the company, and we have a market cap of just 2 million. So I think the only way is up from here. It does seem an incredibly exciting prospect, and a very good team on the ground running and progressing the projects forward.
And there's not so many other rare earth companies available, are there, Alan, from an investment point of view?
Well, there aren't. No, I think there are two or three others listed in London. Of course, I've spoken before about the Anjabana project in Western Australia. That's owned by ASX listed Hastings Technology Metals. And of course, what tends to happen is once the asset is proven, once the mineral resource estimate work has been undertaken, the next step normally is to get takeoff agreements in place. And certainly with the Anjabana, we've seen numerous takeoff agreements signed. I think Schaeffler, the German technology giant, has signed a takeoff agreement there. So given the rarity of rare earth metals outside China, I think as soon as these assets are proven up, we're going to see some of the big companies that are looking for sources of rare earth coming in, signing takeoff agreements. And as we've seen, I think with the Sonora lithium project in Mexico, once a project gets further down the road, often the company that has the takeoff project becomes an investor, becomes a major shareholder, and then potentially can buy the project outright. So it's a very exciting opportunity, I think, and given where Altona shares are right now, I think it's almost a no-brainer.
I think it is a no-brainer. 2 million. It's not often you actually find a company in the exploration space these days. What with the talk of the commodities super cycle and the way things have gone in the last sort of couple of years, to find a company that is that low, and it's moving over to AIM, isn't it? So that's going to be where you can trade on it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Although I think Aquis, we've seen obviously Aquis has seen record volumes during the first quarter, because of course it's now accessible through many more brokers, and I think this Aquis will be developed, and at some point companies may not feel the need to make that transition because Aquis will provide them with all they need. But certainly, I think where Altona are right now, I think making that transition will improve liquidity massively, and obviously, I get that they could also consider maybe a listing in another jurisdiction as well. So that's obviously speculation on my part. But
yeah, sure. And I think rare earths are misunderstood, I'm going to say, but they're used everywhere, aren't they? I mean, like praseodymium, it's used as an alloy, it's used in aircraft engines, terbium, used in computers, solid state drives and disks, dysprosium, lasers, neodymium magnets. It's they are, I think, misunderstood, and they're worth people just doing a little bit of research into them. Particularly, as I say, there's not many investment opportunities, and this particular company, Altona Rare Earths, presenting a very good, very compelling investment proposition and value at this stage. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, yeah, I mean, the applications are nebulous, really. I mean, you've got military applications using military guidance systems,
Yeah.
but also in green tech as well, in wind turbines and you know, some of the new green technology that's around today. It's huge potential, and you know, burgeoning potential applications for rare earth elements use as well. So yeah, and the company's worth 2 million. It's not even you know, it's basically just this is a company with the lights on. That's how we value it.
Yeah, effectively.
That's it. So yeah.
And as you said earlier about where most of the rare earths come from at the moment, China. If the West can start sourcing, have a supply chain outside of that, they're going to go with that, aren't they? Because there's some suspicions at the minute about China and
yeah, very much so. I mean, China obviously has huge demand itself with its own technology. It's its own industries are so huge that the industries in China will be wanting that supply for themselves. So it could well be that as we've seen with lithium, the Sonora Lithium project and Ganfeng Lithium, which is a Chinese company, one of the largest lithium company in the world, is looking to buy or will potentially buy the project. So that's what happens. I think that's what makes these projects so exciting, because if there is a supply squeeze, the prices will go up, and obviously those companies with the takeoff agreements that own the projects will be safe and can resell that supply on at a profit.
On a Friday on the Research Talks from Stockbox, talking to us there about the investment proposition for Altona Rare Earths. Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.